Hello and welcome to another edition of Political Echoes, coming to you from the stables of the Pendulum Television. I am David Olaiwola. Welcome on board. Welcome back. The year is rapidly folding up and political campaigns are now in full gear with campaigns and town hall meetings here and there. We've had politicians craft fascinating speeches for electorates, but what is difficult to ascertain in this case is if they truly mean the promises they have made so far. However, it is more important right now to consider the process of electing these leaders into offices. Today in the studio, I have an electorate, a Nigerian who has been a commentator since 2013. He had one time wanted to contest for the office of vice chairmanship of Ibadan North local government. I have with me Comrade Omololu Ejidiran. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
It's also a pleasure.
Earlier, I was talking about the process of electing leaders into political offices in Nigeria. The body responsible for this process has always been the Independent National Electoral Commission. That has led us to the topic we have today, which is a rather rhetorical one. Arson on INEC offices. Which way, Nigeria? So, comrade, we have recently been experiencing several burnings of INEC offices in Nigeria. Last year was rampant in the eastern part of Nigeria with several offices burnt down. Recently, we had that in Ogun State and Osun State and all that. And there is a very high tendency for it to keep moving like that if unchecked. So what are your thoughts on this? Should this be happening now?
I prefer that we should not only capture the physical beauty of INEC alone. Even the officer of INEC have been killed.
True.
And the sanctity of human life should be more paramount to us, should be of more concern to us than the physical or materials damages. Although both are very important, but we should place high values. We should consider the life of the officer who are also Nigerians who are working there of more sacrosanct. Because it's not only they are destroying the INEC office, they are also destroying, killing the INEC officers, killing the security agency also as well. And this is boiled down to the current situation, current security situation in the country. During your introduction, I listened to you that it has happened in the Ogun State, Abeokuta, as well as
Osun State.
Ede,
Yes.
in Osun State. Not only that, even the Northwest, okay, where the bandits and kidnappers have taken over. It's happened one day. Even the Northeast, where the Iswa, Islamic State of West Africa province,
Yes,
and the Boko Harams, it cut across all the geopolitical zones in the country. It is boiled, as I've said, it is boiled down to the failures of government to give security to the populace, to Nigerians. That is the cause, that is the main reason why. And lest I forget, desperate politicians who have realized, they have come to realize that it is no longer as usual, business as usual. Rigging is no longer possible due to the introduction of beavers and electronic voting. Because recently some of them are canvassing that they should remove beavers, they should remove electronic voting so that they can continue their normal way of business of rigging, of surfacting the votes of the electorate, so changing the destiny of the people. Yakub Mahmood, the current national chairman of INEC, made it clear, abundantly clear, that beaver has come to stay, that nothing again can be done concerning it. In one of the interviews when I was on here, I drove my car for President Buhari for signing the Electoral Act reform that accommodates, welcome beavers, in which the electorate should rest assured that their vote will count. But due to that fact, the desperate politician, a disgruntled element in our society, have now begun to think and brainstorming how they can disenfranchise the electorate.
Before we go into that discussion,
Okay.
you mentioned earlier that the major cause of this is the lack of security in the country.
Definitely.
Don't you think that INEC itself has a role to play in terms of security? Or do you think that these politicians are influencing INEC? They are influencing these destructions going on, these burnings that we've been talking about. Do you think that is another attempt or an approach for them to actually boycott this process that have been put in place for INEC to maintain a good election? Do you think?
Let me make it clear to you. The electoral act that established INEC does not give INEC the power to give protection to their materials. Okay? They are commissioned to conduct election. The responsibility of security is not given to them. It's given a security agency. Okay? Now, I could not imagine why INEC as a body would connive. Though, the only aspect, there was a news recently, we have some INEC officers were alleged of engaging in illegal registration. Those are the aspects I think the INEC officers should be checked. And those who are facing prosecution already. But the aspect of Arson, based on the subject of our discussion,
yes,
it could have been masterminded by criminals in our society who are hired by desperate politicians.
Looking at the fact that we can hold the government culpable in the aspect of security, we can hold desperate politicians culpable also in the aspect of this arson.
Yes.
Let's look at the disenfranchised electorate, because it was in the news that this burning that happened in Ogun State and Osun State, yes, around 65,699 uncollected PVCs were destroyed, yes, together with some sensitive electoral materials.
Yes.
So what is the fate of these thousands of disenfranchised citizens?
Do you know what? The citizens also share the blame. The citizens are lackadaisicals in their attitude. Lackadaisical in the sense that when your PVC is ready, okay, what delay you
to collect it
from getting to the office and claim your PVC? And the electoral body, electoral empire also share the blame. There should be a form of a jingles on medias, reminding people, encouraging people to come and claim their PVC and make the accessibility so easy for them. But why don't you bring the PVC down to the unit where they cast votes, so that those one who cannot afford transport fare due to the nature of their work, they can just walk down to their polling unit and claim it there. But they also give excuse of lack of manpower, because if you do that, you definitely pay the officers that will be in charge. The blame go to the electorate, and also the empire and the electoral empire also share the blame for not assessing, claiming the PVC. One thing I discovered in Nigeria is Nigeria as a whole, I've come to realize that we take many things for granted. It's a reflection of the failure of the society. The issue of PVC shouldn't be something that anybody will take it for granted, because it determines your destiny. Determine the destiny of your born generation with PVC. But as I've said, I've realized that Nigeria is so lackadaisical on key attitude in respect of exercising their civic responsibility.
Okay, while we have talked about the electoral empire not giving enough publicity to the collection of PVCs, I actually saw that of recent, at least this coming election, there has been an increase in awareness about the electoral process and everything. While I am not saying that INEC has done enough in this aspect, don't you think that the habit or the attitude of electorates not collecting their PVC is a result of their lack of trust in the body or the lack of trust in the process, that even if you collect it, it won't be fair, it won't be free, so why should I collect it? Don't you think it is as a result of their lack of trust that is making them to be...
Yeah, why does lack of trust come in?
I mean, in the body, in INEC.
In INEC. Well, will INEC deny them from getting...
Because in the past, we've always had news of rigging, news of people's votes not counting, news of snatching of ballot boxes. So don't you think that a repetition will occur again?
Now, one thing we should know is we have 3 aspects of political culture. Firstly, we have the cognitive aspect of political culture. We have evaluative aspect, and we have affective aspect. The cognitive orientation of the electorate is so low that things cannot remain. The status quo is not the same again. Why should I maintain the old status quo that our vote will not count, if I get your question right?
Yes.
And that one should discourage me from accessing my PVC? That shouldn't be.
But should we blame them? Because Nigeria has a record of repeatedly having bad records. So should we actually blame the electorate for having this low cognitive
orientation? May I also ask you a question?
Okay.
Do you correct illegality with illegality? Is it right?
No.
Because there are illegality being perpetrated in our society. For now, the best way I believe is that not to participate in exercising my civic duty. That's the way to correct it. That's illegality also as well. Although it may not be recognized by law, that if I don't cast my vote, I did not declare me illegal. No, not yet. But it's an illegal act for me to conclude that because the status quo of rigging or snatching ballot boxes, if I get you right, okay, or subverting the destiny of the electorate, still remain the same. Capital no. Should not now continue to nurse the old status quo. And for that reason right now, I will not deprive myself of not casting my vote. No, it's very totally wrong. You don't, because the status quo on ground, okay, discourage you, also as embitter you, and now because of that, you withdraw. You see, the best way for me now, if I cast my vote, history of my passport does not count. What is the essence of me going? That's an illegal, it's a wrong thought. Now, as I've said during the section of this discourse, that the beavers and the electronic
voting system,
if the cognitive aspect of the electorate is so high, they will have realized that the status quo cannot remain the same again. That their vote will definitely count. It's because the people, the electorate, are far from information. When you are not informed, you cannot take informed decision.
Definitely.
What should we? Because of the status quo that have been long on ground, I will not be okay. What I believe is that I don't trust in the electoral empire. I don't trust in that's due to that fact. What's the essence of going assessing my PVC? Let it be there. That's not the way to correct the system. Because if you decide not to participate, involved in the activity of the state, the fool will govern you. The fool will rule, and you will not be spared. Everybody will not be spared, and you are not justified to complain.
Definitely. So while we have realized some faults of electorates by trying to continue with the previous status quo, let's draw light to this arsonist, because that's the subject of our discussion today.
Yes.
Now, arsonists have always been carrying out these operations for a long time now.
Yes.
Isn't there a way of checking them? Isn't there a way of imprisoning or using the force of the law to actually counter this arsonist? Because if there is a system in place to actually punish people who are involved in this act, don't you think it will reduce? Don't you think it will stop?
Let me candidly what I said. In every society where the socio-economic factors, the socio-economic life of the people have been mesmerized, have been subverted, okay, the larger percent of the population will be forced to embrace criminality. If you don't agree with me, you should know that because there is aspect of psychology in every human being when you are not able to assess the basic necessity of life. Okay? Okay?
Yes.
The larger percentage of the people will embrace criminality. They will fight back against the state. That is the part of what is happening right now. Except you adjust the policy of government, that's one. When the security agents are already infiltrated, they have been infiltrated. If you get my point?
Yes.
With some moles are among the security agents. And they supply, they fortify the information to the criminal outside. Oh, what do you expect? Because as soon as they decide in the office and the security agent office and they strategize, information will leak out. Okay? To the hands of the disgruntled enemy. And they will maximize the information against the state. What do you see to that? Now, first day, the security agents must flush their agency. Those ones who are most among them. Do you want to realize that even Nigerian states, you will not believe it, but right from the information published by Punch newspaper, Punch, the Nigerian state also sponsor terrorism. Now, ECOWAS body published a news recently.
Okay.
A situation where ISWA have established a pseudo government in the entire basin. and they realize certain 80 billion naira and they transfer the money through Nigerian financial system. Now, what is the connivance between ISWA and Nigerian states? I've challenged this several times. Let the Nigerian government challenge Punch newspaper and challenge ECOWAS that the news is not genuine. We will not drag the Nigerian state to court. Now, what is the connivance between Nigerian state and ISWA? Now, in such society, how do we fight insecurity? How do we fight those who are the arsonists? At times, you will realize that the arsonists have access to classify information more than the security of the state.
Definitely.
And every criminals in the state, they work with information, just like the security of the state also.
Yes.
What do you have to see? Now, it's means that the society is completely, destabilized.
Okay, while we can draw one of the major faults of insecurity and lack of check on arsonists to the fact that the country itself is not well established, the country itself is not in good condition, let's listen to some opinions of people on the streets on what they think about the recent arsons on INEC offices and issues regarding the upcoming 2023 elections. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon. Am I only?
So, what do you have to say concerning the recent burnings of the INEC offices in Arson and Ogun, respectively? Looking at the fact that we are moving close to the election period, which is in 2023. So, what do you have to say? What are your reactions?
I see it in two ways. That one is a political agenda in order to boycott election. Maybe it's true that if they burnt a lot of INEC offices, election can be postponed. And another thing is in order to reduce the capacity of people that are going to vote. Because burning of the INEC offices means all the materials that have been procured for the elections will not be made available again. Voters' card will be burnt. Look at in Ogun State, about 60-something thousand voters' card have been burnt. So that reduced the voters' capacity, which at the end of the day, it's going to turn out to a particular political party which is behind that. So I think government has to be very proactive about that now and let that stop. There are more burnings in southern parts than the northern part, meaning maybe they want the elections to be determined by only the northerners. So it's also a political agenda to mesmerize the forthcoming election. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
What's your name, please?
I'm Joshua.
Oh, good. I want to ask you a question as regards the forthcoming elections.
Okay.
Do you think the present electoral processes being put in place by INEC will guarantee us a free and fair election in the next year election?
Yes, it should. it should guarantee us a free and fair election based on the concluded election in Osun and Ekiti, and we see how flawless it was. We hope this will come out well.
Are all Nigerians confident like this?
There is a mixed feeling amidst Nigerians, hoping it will be, and some are not fully hopeful that this election will be free and fair. But we want us to give it a trial because our vote will count this time around.
Welcome back from that short break. We have listened to people's opinion on the streets on issues regarding the upcoming 2023 general elections. Now, comrade, it's been a pleasure with you in the studio.
You're welcome.
Earlier, we talked about the introduction of beavers and the electoral voting system to the electoral process of this year.
Yes.
Do you think that the electoral process will be better this year? Do you think that we are up to something good for this coming elections with what has been put in place by INEC?
Let's first give kudos to the civil society and some major stakeholders in this country who mount prayers. They mounted prayers on President Buhari, and let me give kudos to the president also for listening to them and signing the electoral act that allow the beavers electoral voting into law. You will remember that the Attorney General of the state, Abubakar Malami, challenged Section 84, Section 12 of that act in court. Why? The sections simply state that you cannot be occupying a political office, a public office, at the same time contesting. You have to leave one for the other. Because from the reliable source, we realize that Malami was planning to contest for the office of governorship in Kebbi State. And he could not relieve his office based on that act. He challenged that act in court, Supreme Court. Kudos to Supreme Court judges. They rule out that once you have signed the act into law, there's no way you can play reverse again. It has come to stay. Now, the act also allow what they call BVAS, biometric verification system, in which as it has been tested in Ekiti, Osun, Anambra. I witnessed one of Osun State where the vote of the electorate really counts. If we find a situation or a place where some disgruntled elements snatch or cause brouhaha in the place, they cancel that the election of that particular spot. Okay? We have been canvassing for it for long. Let the field, the electorate, determine the result, not the courts. Not the courts. Okay, you're welcome.
Yes. Now that we've talked about how electronic voting system
and beavers
will aid a better electoral process this coming election.
Yes.
Do you think the Arson that has occurred has any effect then?
It will definitely. The only effect that we have is that most voters will not be privileged to exercise their civic duty. Look at you roll out the figure of the PVC that were destroyed.
65,000
Plus, look at that huge amount of the voters that be deprived from exercising their franchise. To that effect, it also spelled doom, because politics, democracy is a game of figure. It's a game of figure. And when the electorate were deprived like that, it may give a wrong result. We are some who have intention or who knows a candidate of their choice in their mind have been subverted, have been deprived their rights from being materialized. Of course, but although in another share, you will realize that this Arson is much more prevalent in the southern part of the country. than the northern part, okay, it connotes a lot of meaning that the bulk of the votes may not likely come from the south, that the north will determine who will emerge in the situation of national election. If it is a state election, state House of Assembly, state governor, but in the case of the federal rep and the senatorial seat, president, okay, it may spare doom, because senatorial also may not necessarily affect the issue of not assessing your PVC, may not, but the presidency will be affected.
Okay, lastly, before we leave the studio today, let's talk about the solutions we could give INEC for cases like this. We've had these attacks already. Now, what we should look at is the way forward. What can INEC do to ensure that the electoral process runs smoothly?
Now, number one, we have been clamoring for the installation of CCTV in all the INEC office. After all, if they install CCTV, although there is a particular bill at the National Assembly that want to mandate that every organization, be it private or government organization, okay, public, should install CCTV in their location so that the criminal elements can be seen far off. Even if it happened that the dastardly act was perpetrated in the midnight, you can still detect. That's one. Two, the most among the INEC officers who are conniving with this criminal element should be fished out and face the wrath of the law. Okay? That is two. Three, the electorate should not delay the collection of the PVC. Okay? No one go there and request for PVC, access it in time, don't delay. 4, the orientation should go viral. There should be jingles that will encourage the electorate, the citizen, to come and claim their PVC, permanent voters card. The jingle should be there, and they should make the accessibility so easy for the electorate, because at times some of the people are complaining that they will stay long unnecessarily. If I get to a place where to access my PVC and you deliberately delay me, or you deny me, or you are requesting for token before you can release it, let me talk about that. Because some of the officers who are working at the INEC office, not only INEC, virtually all parastatal Nigeria, they will ask for something from you before they can render their service to you. And it is not done. It is out of disloyalty to a nation. That is the way out. Those are the way out.
Thank you very much for your responses so far, sir. It's been a wonderful time with you in the studio. You've enlightened and opened the eyes of many viewers at home to some of these issues.
You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure, and we hope to have you here some other time.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Now, to viewers, we have highlighted the aspects that concern the government and aspects that concern INEC. To electorates, it is time for you to collect your PVCs and delay no further. The coming elections will determine a lot in the quality of your lives in coming years. I hope you join us next time when we come your way on Political Echoes from Pendulum TV. I remain David Olaiwola. Bye.